Anticlimactic, not because of the performance of the finance minister in presenting the budget, that's not it at all, but anticlimactic because for the first time there was no jeopardy in the budget. There was no mystery. There was no sense of foreboding. There was no sense of, Lord God, what am I going to announce now? Because all of the revenue measures were front loaded, presented, discussed to death. And though there were some significant unknowns at the time the revenue measures were tabled, and those unknowns remained after Standing Finance Committee, and of course those unknowns remain after the presentation yesterday, i.e. the digital services part. I still felt as if yesterday's exercise was the greatest anomaly in the series of budget presentations that I've been paying attention to. And perhaps for those older than myself, they'll tell you that they've never felt an opening budget presentation in the way that they digested the one by Favor Williams yesterday. And I would say that's a good thing. That's a good thing because we did put to Donovan Wignall on Tuesday that unlike previous occasions, when businesses would lament, Lord have mercy, this tax is coming or this adjustment is coming, and it just fell on us like I don't like to say a ton of bricks. I like to use the expression used by the late Biggie Smalls when he says it drops unexpectedly like bird, you know what, bird poop. Let's say bird poop because children listen to this program. They would lament how taxes fell on their shoulders as if they were walking on Ocean Boulevard here in downtown Kingston. On a bird just do the business and it just drop on them. That's how taxes and changes used to fall on business people. That is not the case this cycle, and we hope for all cycles to come. They knew. So that was a big difference. And the fact that they got the time to digest the revenue measures and to start making plans for them. I'm suggesting that many people who run business weren't really paying attention yesterday to what was being said by the finance minister. The sense of your belly bottom of a dropout was absent. And it's almost as if we are a nation used to floggings, used to being battered at budget time. That rather than getting kicks and punches, we got a hug and we turned fool and don't know how to react. Well, that's me. You know, sometimes your parents call you and they call you in a tone of voice. They say, Lord have mercy, I want me to know. And you go expecting a rollicking and you get a hug. And as parents, we do the same thing to our children. And you can see the surprise after the initial confusion when rather than berate them, you give a hug or you rub their head or a pat on the back or something. That's almost the reaction for me yesterday, which is good, which is a very good first step in what we hope will be an unbroken series of budget presentations where there is no devil in the details because the details have been presented upfront for you to digest before the main presentation. Now, that said, some things which may have missed some of those who were listening, and certainly missed those who weren't listening, and which are important for the journey we have ahead for the next fiscal year. The finance minister said that given what Melissa had done to the country, 3.39 billion went to the tourism ministry to support the recovery of the tourism sector. Now, these numbers are important because, again, they tell you how your tax dollars are being put to work and what is being done, because you know the inevitable cries that government does not or not enough. These are the numbers which you can use to determine if nothing has been done or if sufficient has been done. 3.39 billion from the government went to the Ministry of Tourism to help the industry recover from Melissa. The Development Bank of Jamaica, that most criticized entity because of the bureaucracy in accessing the funds that they have under their thumb, they received 3 billion for the M5 Business Recovery Program, which is intended to accelerate economic recovery and strengthen resilience. Ministry of Water, Environment, Climate Change, Samuda's ministry, it got 3.25 billion to support the NWC alone. 3.25 billion given to the Ministry of Water to support the NWC. Labor and Social Security, Perennial Child's Ministry, 11.2 billion, of which 10 billion was grants to the households under the Roofs program. There was also $155 million in cash transferred to PATH recipients. And listen to this, $32 million exclusively for children with disabilities who were impacted by the hurricane. Significant thing, but which most people would have missed. The Education Ministry, 2.3 billion, including 1 million to each of the 616 schools identified. Not a lot of money, $1 million, but it is the allocation. Health and Wellness, 2.3 billion for relief and recovery. Agriculture received 3 billion for relief and recovery. Energy, Transport, Telecoms, 1.5 billion. Local government and development got 4.6 billion for NSWMA's pre and post hurricane cleanup and to provide central government support to municipal corporations. They got 1.35 billion and ODPEM got 1 billion. So again, I'm presenting the figures that she mentioned yesterday to show, well, what have you done with our tax money and the other monies that come to us that really are the Jamaican people's money. There's no such thing as government funds, it's our money. Eh? What have you done with it in the light of this disaster? Also included, you heard Desmond McKenzie speak recently about the allocations to help municipal corporations get their financial statements in order so the Auditor General won't have to flag them. 18.8 million for the backlog audit project. 121 million to relocate the Office of the Children's Advocate. 121 million. Indicom are housed in a building where so great. I've been there a couple of times and yeah. So 372 million will be spent to relocate the Office of the Independent Commission of Investigations. Where NIDS is concerned and the implementation of NIDS, the finance minister says 1.86 billion is going towards that. 1.5 billion is going to the Rural Economic Development Initiative Phase 2. 225 million to the Integrated Community Development Project Phase 2. 150 million for strengthening cybersecurity in the country to include expanding the pool of specialized cybersecurity professionals. You've heard Jassert talk about the shortage of cybersecurity professionals on the island, and as soon as they train them, other countries take them or the private sector takes them. 5.5 billion will be spent on maintaining secondary roads. 5.5 billion. 760 million will go towards the Hope Housing Project, and 50.3 billion will be spent on paying government pensioners. That's just a snapshot of what our money is being spent on in this recovery phase of our development following Melissa. Now, you will determine if the numbers are adequate. You will determine if, it represents the best spend of our money. What you will hear from here on in is that the budget doesn't have anything for the poor. And don't balk at that position. Listen first to what the prescription is as to how to better help the poor in the budget before you criticize. That will come. I will say that this budget too, as someone with the benefit of a tertiary level education, as someone who has been captive to income tax from the moment I started working, for somebody who has always worked 3 and 4 and 5 jobs, and everything you work, you have to give the tax man, or in